Welcome back to another episode of the Cycle Podcast, the show where we cover 4 trending MLB playoff topics in 20 minutes or less. Joining me once again is Josh, a.k.a. Kablumski. Josh, I missed you for the last 2 weeks while I was away. How are you doing? You ready to go?
Man, I love you. I miss you. I'm happy you're back, safe and sound. We got playoff ball, baby. So I'm looking forward to this episode. Let's roll.
We're going to cover our NL and AL divisional predictions. We're talking who's hot, and then we're going to be finishing things off with our official World Series predictions, locking that in early. The deeper it goes, the easier it gets to predict the World Series. So we're going to do that now. Unfortunately, with me being in Italy, we didn't get to do it during Wild Card weekend. Some great matchups. Hopefully, you guys caught a lot of that. Let's go ahead and get right into the show. Our first topic is going to be covering the NL matchups, where we have the Cubs going up against the Brewers and the Dodgers taking on the Phillies. Keep in mind, these are going to be 5-game sets. So we are going to be bringing that up as we talk about these series, because one of these series in particular, I think that 5-game structure could have a major impact. And that is the Cubs versus Brewers series. The Cubs are only carrying, from what I've seen of their roster in the wild card round, carrying 3 true relievers: Matthew Boyd, Shota Imanaga, and Jameson Taillon. The Brewers, of course, with one of the best rotations and pitching staffs overall. I think that strength of pitching for the Milwaukee Brewers is going to do a lot for them in this series. Doesn't give that Cubs offense time to really heat up. You're not going to see a lot of pitchers over and over and over, despite this being a series between 2 divisional opponents who have seen each other quite a bit this year. And like I was saying to you off the podcast when we were prepping, in a series where 2 teams have seen each other a lot, this is also going to play into the Yankees and Blue Jays series. I think the strengths begin to prevail. You don't have as many matchups where one team can throw something at the other team that they're not ready for, because they've played each other all year. In baseball, you see your divisional opponents over and over and over. Yeah, the Brewers have that solid pitching staff. I think they're going to come in with a great plan to attack the Cubs. Of course, in playoff games, managers tend to use their pitching staffs more freely. And the Brewers' pitching staff, I think, is deeper. And I think it is able to slow down the Cubs' offense enough that they can't get in a real roll. And for the Cubs, with that being their strength, that is just absolutely crucial. I was talking to you about, in addition to that, the Cubs' bullpen being their weakness, and the Brewers' ability to string together hits, run the bases well, steal bases, knock in runs with that small ball. The Cubs don't have a bullpen, I think, that can combat that. So I'm going to throw these names out at you and try to pick out a name where you say, oh, shit, this guy's warming up. They're bringing him in. We got to score right now. Aaron Savale, Brad Keller, Andrew Kittredge, Daniel Palencia, Drew Pomeranz, Colin Ray, Taylor Rogers, Michael Soroka, and Caleb Fieldbar. Which of those relievers strikes great fear in your heart?
None.
Yeah. So I think the Brewers' strength outweighs the Cubs' strength, and I think that the Cubs' weakness is a glaring weakness. I'm taking Brewers in 5. Now, on to the Dodgers and Phillies for my prediction. I've got the Phillies also in 5, though I think it could go 4. The Phillies' starting rotation is set up better. You've got Christopher Sanchez on the bump in game 1, going up against Shohei Ohtani, who, 1, has never started a game in the playoffs before. 2, I'm not sure he's built up enough as far as pitching to be really ready for a game like this. They've used him as a spot starter. They've used him as a reliever. I think the Phillies offense, they know this is probably their last ride as a lot of guys hit free agency. I think they're geared up, and I think the Dodgers are weak this year in terms of Dodgers weakness. I think their bullpen is a massive weakness like the Cubs, which is why I'm going with the Phillies in this series. I'm sorry I didn't leave you a lot of time, Josh. Give me your predictions for both of those.
No, because you made a lot of great points in both series, but I'll just go where you let off before. The Yankees, the Dodgers series. The Dodgers series, to me, is going to come down to the veteran leadership. point blank period. Like you said, their bullpen is not there. The Phillies, they got veteran leadership as well. The trick is, what I want to make sure that I say is Shohei Ohtani is a unicorn for a reason. You mentioned that he probably isn't ready. I get that, but I feel like they have been prepping him 2 innings here, prepping him for 4 innings, slowly, maturely, getting him that longevity that he needs for this moment, for this time. If the team rides off of his back. If he goes, the team goes. And I think that Freeman and Mookie Betts are going to be playing a big factor in this series as well. But with that being said, I'm not writing off the Phillies just like, hey, this is going to be a quick in and out series for Philly. No, this is where Philly shines for me. They always tend to turn it up a notch in the playoffs. And I give them a lot of credit for that. They, like you said, they know that their window is closing and they're fully aware of that. They're going to make everything that they can to make sure that they can compete. So they're not going to lay down. This is going to be a great series to watch, but I do have the Dodgers in 5. Real quick on the flip side, because I know we just ran out of a little bit of time, but like I mentioned before, throughout this whole season, I'm an honorary Cub, right? So or honorary Cub fan, so I got to roll with my team now. That's the only thing that I got going for me. So, when you're talking about, those non-dominant pitchers in the bullpen, you are absolutely correct. But you know what? It works for them. I think that what this is going to come down to here is going to be obviously who scores the most runs. That's the most cliche thing to say, but it really is going to determine how you produce these runs. What I mean by that is, how are you going to produce runs on the base pass? Are you going to apply pressure? Are you going to take that extra base, on a bloop hit? Things like that, when you apply pressure for evenly matched a series, is what's going to be the X factor of this. On the flip side, real quick, I know we're out of time. Brewers are, like you said, phenomenal, especially on the back end. What I want to see is, as a catcher, I like to talk about my catchers. I want to see how Contreras is going to control this. I want to see what he's going to do with, like I just mentioned on the Cup side, a PCA that's going on first move every time he's on base, and still commanding his pitching staff too. So I'm really pumped about this, as you could tell on both series, but really for the Cubs, I have the Cubs in 4. Okay. Lock it in.
Cubs in 4. So Josh, Cubs 4, and Josh, you have Dodgers 5.
Dodgers 5, yes, sir.
With that, let's go ahead and move on to the American League matchups on this divisional weekend. In the American League, we're seeing the Yankees going up against the Blue Jays, and of course, the Mariners going up against the Tigers. I'm going to go real quick on the Yankees-Blue Jays series. I got the Yankees in 4. I have it a pretty dominant series win for them. Another two teams that are very familiar. And the strengths here are so glaringly in favor of the Yankees. Yankees hit the most home runs in baseball. Blue Jays give up a lot of home runs. And in the regular season, the Blue Jays won the series between the two. And there was a lot of what I feel like was luck, if that makes sense, in that the Blue Jays were able to hold off the Yankees' power. I don't think that happens in a playoff series. I think that was more of an anomaly than a trend. So I've got the Yankees scoring a shitload of runs, the Blue Jays hanging with them at times, but just not having enough firepower to go over the hump. In the next series, I've got the Mariners taking it in 5. Of course, the Tigers, in order to win a playoff series, got to win their Skubal starts. And Tarek Skubal, shockingly bad against the Mariners. I believe he had an ERA over 4 against the Mariners. Randy Arozarena has hit him exceptionally well. Of course, Randy Arozarena, one of the best playoff performers in history. I saw that his playoff OPS is similar to that of Babe Ruth and Luke Gehrig. Two of the greatest playoff players of all time.
Yeah.
I see him being a guy that can get hot and carry this team. Of course, you have a lot of help there with guys like Cal Raleigh, Julio Rodriguez, great role players like Jorge Polanco and JP Crawford as well. I've got the Mariners in 5, winning one of the 2 Skubal starts, and then losing against a guy like Flaherty. And then if Skubal gets another shot in game 4, I've got them taking that one, with the Mariners wrapping it up in 5. I'll turn it over to you. I'll give you a little more time this time. I felt like I hogged a little bit on the last topic.
Nah, you're good. You're good. Um, So let's talk about the AL East matchup. First of all, I love having two representations or two representatives from our great division representing in the playoffs right now. I just hate that the Yankees have to be a part of it, right? So I'm going to try my best to say a few good things about them in this, so it's not completely biased, right? No, but honestly, like you hit it on the head when you talk about their strengths, which is hitting the long ball. And when you play in a high school field, like I mentioned many a times, with the power that they have, a pop fly goes out of there any way, any shape or fashion. So they have that going for them, and I think they have a little bit of momentum. Right, it was a tough series. It was a little bit of a team building series that they just had to go through, and a tough series with Boston, another division rival. So I think they got that going for them, right? Toronto sitting down, taking a bye. I think this is a situation where that hurts them. I just don't think they have a lot of firepower there, and the Yankees are just going to take it in decisive fashion for in 4 games. I really wanted to talk about, though, like you mentioned, the Mariners and the Tigers. Originally, when we were talking about this in our prep meeting, we were talking. I took the Tigers, and I took them pretty quickly, and I was just jumping on the fact that of the pitching staff, one of the best arms in the game that we are watching, lefty, all the intangibles. I love my Javi Baez, all the things that I want to see in a team going into October. But like you said, I think that their firepower is a little on the weaker end, and when you have to win when your big arm is pitching every time, it's something that says like you're playing from behind already. It says that you're kind of defeated before the series started. So I had to really really look at that series, and I flipped it. I truly feel like the Mariners are a team of destiny. I feel like there's always a team every year. Nationals were a couple years ago. That always kind of carry through in October, and they're hitting on all cylinders. Kyle Raleigh is having obviously a once in a lifetime season, and his team is feeding off of that. I think the key, you mentioned Randy Rosarina, and I'm so happy you did. But the two names that I really want to throw out there that I feel that they're really going to jump off the board in these next series if they continue on to win, is going to be J.P. Crawford and Julio Rodriguez. I think that Julio really needs to step up in that role. I think that he's kind of taking the seat back, but I think that this is his time to shine. This is when, hey, we pay you the big bucks. You are still the face of the franchise. Blah 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 blah. This is where you come to play. So I got the Mariners in 5 as well, and it's great series that's going to be as well. Not so one sided like the other series in the American League.
Yeah, my quick thing on the Tigers, they haven't been good after the All-Star break. And Javi Baez, who was kind of the spark in the heart of that team the first half of the year, he's had a bad second half. Leaving guys like Riley Green needs to step up. And then you've got a lot of the Kerry Carpenter types, the guys who are truly role players, and I don't see them having a number 2 guy there that can pick up Riley Green over the course of a 5-game series. But with that, let's go ahead and move on to who's hot, and then we'll wrap up with our official predictions. Next up is everybody's favorite topic, who's hot, where I've got 2 guys I picked from the wild card weekend who had phenomenal games, starting off with my honorable mention, rookie Cam Schlittler, who went 8 innings, 12 strikeouts, no walks, no runs allowed in Game 3 of that New York-Boston series, which locked up the series win for the Yankees. But I think I'm going to go with Tarek Skubal, who went 7 2/3, 14 strikeouts, 1 run, and 3 hits. And the reason I'm picking Skubal over the rookie is he is clearly on a Hall of Fame trajectory. He's going to have 2 Cy Youngs now. And when you talk about a pitcher who had a Hall of Fame career, obviously, all the accolades they accumulate over time. He's going to strike out a ton of guys in his career. He's winning a ton of games. He's going to have the awards, the All-Stars. But you want to see a playoff performance where at the end of your career, you can say that was peak Tarek Skubal.
Yes.
Daddy, what was Tarek Skubal like in his prime?
Yeah.
You show him that game.
Yes.
And I think for that and for the legacy of a guy who is probably the pitcher of the coming generation, along with Paul Skeens, I think that's important. I think that it is very meaningful. Of course, Cam Schlittler, what a rookie postseason debut for the kid. And
Right.
if that is a picture of what's to come, then maybe in 3 years we'll be talking about him like Tarek Skubal. But
Right.
it's so early in his career, it's hard to talk about him that way in the same conversation as a Tarek Skubal. Josh, I'll
Right.
turn over to you. Piggyback off of that, and then maybe we can save a little bit of time on the back end here.
No, absolutely. I got an honorable mention too because I did get one for the wild card weekend, and it was Josh Naylor. Real quick, listen to this line: 450, 477, 625, and a 102 OPS. The guy was scorching hot, and for that, and really leading I was going to say the Indians, the Guardians, into what was going to be like a Cinderella type finish for them. Right? They were the team that wasn't supposed to be there, the low income team, the whole nine. But he led that team and with great fashion. So, but like you mentioned, he hit a wall, and that wall's name was Tarek Skubal. Like you said, excuse me, future Hall of Famer, the whole nine. That it was a performance that was beyond amazing, and really solidified himself as one, like you said, not just one of the top lefties in the game, but not maybe one of the top pitchers in the game if it wasn't already put into words already. But what he has done. You already mentioned 14 strikeouts. When you have 14 strikeouts at any time, you're giving your team your opportunity to win, right? And that's what we were talking about. The team has to win when he performs, now, or when he pitches. Now, it helps when he performs like this: 3 walks, 14 strikeouts. Just the whole, and then only pitching around 100 pitches. So that's great for his longevity and his towards making further starts in the future for them as they go. But what was important to me was not only did he give his team to a chance to win when he pitches, but like when he performs the way he does at a high level, it's tough for any team to come across as beatable in that aspect. So he is on fire to me. And he's going to take over this league for years to come. And I'm just happy to be a fan and admire his performances night in and night out.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. Unfortunately, that's coming to an end here in the series against the Mariners. With that, let's move on to our last topic and wrap this thing up for the night. We're going to wrap this thing up by predicting the World Series. I personally have the Phillies over the Mariners in 6 games with Bryce Harper as the MVP.
Wow.
I like the Phillies this year.
Wow. Nice.
I like the Phillies this year. Bryce Harper's my guy. I love Bryce Harper.
Yeah,
and
you've always been a fan of his.
He's a LeBron James-esque figure in that coming out of high school, straight to the pros.
Yes.
Very, very short ride in the minor leagues. And like LeBron James, was a kid that was having his games broadcast on national media as a high schooler. He was on magazine covers. He was already getting calls from sponsors at 18 years old in high school. Started playing wooden bat league, I believe, at 15 to prepare for the MLB. And he has done everything in his career except win the big one. He's gotten to the World Series. He has had his massive playoff moments. We remember the walk-off last year in the postseason. He has won multiple MVPs. He's been all-star almost every year of his career. He has made position moves and succeeded. I think if he wins a World Series, and especially a World Series MVP, I think you now have a case to catapult him over Mike Trout as the premier player of our generation. I really think he might be the guy who we remember of this era offensively. And
Yeah.
you see him so often put in that 5 through 10 class. If you're talking about the best hitters in the league, you've got your
Yeah.
judges, Ohtani's, Bobby Witt Jr.'s in recent years. Harper belongs in that conversation, and I think he
agree.
proves it throughout this playoffs. Josh, I'll take yours. I think you're going to have one that I might disagree with.
First of all, man, great prediction. I'm not far away from you when you're talking about Bryce Harper as far as his what he brings to the game, what he brought to the game. You remember he was a catcher coming in. The guy, in an age nowadays where you see people, not skip a year, but stay back a year or move up a year just to be eligible for, going into college and stuff. He did that multiple years so he can go into a junior college so he can be eligible earlier. So, and then the amount of pressure that he's withstood throughout his whole career, like you mentioned, from 16 years old or 17 years old on, just the amount of tremendous pressure to succeed at a high level. And always been on that microscope, under scrutiny from multiple people, throughout the game. And for him to perform at, and surpass their expectations has just been phenomenal. So I just wanted to give a quick minute to applaud you for that, but give him his flowers as well, because he's not going to win it this year. I hate to say that. And, I'm rooting for him, but not when I make my predictions here. It's going to be the Mariners and Cubs. And it's going to be a magical World Series, I believe. It's going to go all 7. It's going to have a Bartman type event in the crowd, something along those lines. But all seriousness, these are two teams that that are not really supposed to make it, this far. Have come through a lot of trials and tribulations. We're pretty quiet throughout the season, but I think it all clicks for them. And the road to the World Series is what's going to define them making it there. What I mean by that is how they produce the runs and how they make their wins. You're talking about the Mariners having to go through what we just talked about in a probably a generational talent in Tarek Skubal, and then you got the Cubs going through a generational lineup and all of the Dodger players, in that aspect. But I think it really forms their continuity and their chemistry for them to get to the World Series, because that's one thing that you can't buy is chemistry. You can't buy camaraderie. So I think that plays a huge factor. I have PCA winning the MVP, and it's not so much about his bat or big time moments. It's what he's doing when he's not at bat or making a big time play in the field. What I mean by that is on the base paths. He's going to be, I think, going to make a big time splash in the World Series. Going to rattle some heads in pitchers' minds in the World Series, and Chicago's going to be on fire if the World Series happens to go there. So I think that team feeds off of the crowd. 100%, and I think that's going to be a big obstacle for the Mariners that way. But I have the Cubs in 7.
See, I mentioned this to you off camera when you gave me your PCA pick.
Man.
If the Cubs are going to win the World Series, I think it has to be Kyle Tucker. I think Kyle Tucker's got to have.
Tampa boy, I'll take it.
Yeah. I think he's got to have a massive series, because if they get to the World Series, which they won't, they're going to lose to the Brewers. But if they get to the World Series, the entire Chicago fan base is looking at Kyle Tucker saying, this is why we brought you in, buddy. You've got to go out and show out. You've got to be our Chris Bryant or Anthony Rizzo guy of this series. But agree to disagree. Josh has Cubs over Mariners.
Magical series.
In 7. Magic. All right. We've got it locked in, guys. Go ahead, comment your predictions. Make sure to like. Give us a subscription. Josh, take us home on this wonderful Wild Card Weekend Eve.
I love that playoffs are here, but I love more that you're back. So congratulations again on your marriage. I hope you had a blast over there. Can't wait to talk to Bree and congratulate her as well. But thank you for coming back. Happy you're back. And we got playoff baseball, baby.
Let's go. We'll see you next time.
Kavlimski.